Hey, good afternoon, Tom Ginn and
Mark Gassard.
Elevate Your Profits. We'll be right back. That is our corporate sponsor, Be Connected. We'll get into that at another night, but tonight I just want to welcome you, Mark.
Well,
How are
thank
you doing,
you.
buddy?
I'm doing great. It's MLK Day here, and I hail from the great state of Georgia, Metro Atlanta. So a lot of activities happen around the city. Some people did not work today; they chose not to. Some did. Some probably worked a half day. But yeah, uh, all in all, great day, great weekend, and here I am. I'm dealing with elevate your profits.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Today is a holiday, So many times when you're an entrepreneur, you don't get caught up in the holiday syndromes, I call it. But it is an important day. I always
yes,
like to recognize that the contributors to our great country. Martin Luther King really changed a lot in our culture and how to deal with um, the complexities of being different, is best way to put it.
yeah,
So, um, I like to always start out with this, Mark, is that, we started this program how long ago now?
2 years.
2 years ago.
That's insane.
Yeah, it goes, man, I tell you, time flies. But our whole premise of this program and this platform is to, inspire those that maybe deciding they're thinking may want to go into business and not quite sure. And we have stories. We want to have people come on that maybe can share their story of why they went into business, what they do, and what it takes to succeed. That person's already in business, a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, traditional brick and mortars, whatever business people are. We have interviewed. I was telling our guest here, almost 200 people, Mark, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and some pretty significant people who developed the relationships and friendships. And I think as part of what we'll be talking a little bit is about using technology too. And what our guests are going to be talking about, how important it is to put yourself out there with differentiation. So,
Right.
so our whole platform is for those that have maybe thinking about going into business themselves, uh, and what it takes to win. And tonight, I happen to. That's what I love about being on social media. You get to meet some pretty cool people. I saw our guest tonight being interviewed by somebody we just recently interviewed, and I says we got to have him on because what he does is so significant uh, to the market we want to serve. We
Right.
talk about public relations. People think, oh, that's these big, huge firms and that. But tonight we're going to be bringing in a guest, Alden Zuck. Are you ready to come in, Alden?
Roll.
We're rolling. Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah, happy to be here. I am very excited to jump into just some really, really cool insights about authority and how PR can impact business and how that can really get you started in some step-by-step ways to do that as well. So.
Yeah, and before we just want to make sure everybody's out here. We have a rolling audience that comes in. Mark will be monitoring who comes in and
Yes.
putting up some what their comments are. So, but we want to make sure you tag and share this out here, whether it be on the live or the replay. We never know who's out there that we can bring some positive encouragement, inspiration in their life journeys in business. But before we
Absolutely.
get going, Alden, into what you do, I always like to start all our meetings out with this. What are you grateful for today?
That's what, yeah, for me, if I start, I'm very grateful for the fact that I was able to spend a lot of time. I was able to connect with my family over the holidays, and I know a lot of people weren't able to do that. There's a lot of issues with the weather, but I'm very grateful for family time. My sister just told me yesterday that she is pregnant with
Oh,
her husband.
wow.
So super
Yeah.
exciting news. Definitely grateful for that.
Yeah. And Mark, what are you grateful for today?
Man, what am I grateful for today? We are had some more challenges this weekend, and hey, Jay Skinner, thank you for joining us. Thank you. Actually, grateful for people that hop in and out of here, and they have their own programs. Jay has his host of the Buyers and Sellers Show, does a fantastic job. To be truthful, as I was sitting here dialing and talking to people, having the ability to do what I'm doing here today, talk to people virtually, phone, face to face, looking forward to going to the poultry and egg show. God willing, knock on wood, my health still keeps chugging down the choo choo track. I'll be there. You hear a lot of people complain. Um, I'm just not going to do it because every day I wake up, I'm so grateful I'm here because, the more I go through life, as Tom can attest, you find out some of your friends are no longer here. And it's just not worth getting wound up over things maybe that don't go your way throughout your day, week. Because there's others out there that are, you know, they're battling, and what I consider a problem or a situation compared to what some people are dealing with in real world, real life, doesn't even add up to what they're dealing with. So just glad to be here, man. Really.
I'm so grateful. I believe, being a personal development coach, gratitude changes perspective. You can't hold a negative thought and a positive thought at the same time. Gratitude, no matter what the circumstances are going on. And I believe when we have intentionality, recognize this minute's the most important minute that we have because we don't have a guarantee for another moment. So I like to move from that place of let's make the best of whatever we have right now under the circumstance we have right now in a positive way because you respond versus react and it changes everything. It's been a great being taught those principles, applying those principles in my life has made a huge difference in my life. And just so I'm grateful for this moment.
Right.
And I could just go on and on and on about gratitude. But here we are.
Absolutely. By the way, Jay Skinner plays a mean piano, so he can really get down on that thing. So so seriously, folks, check out his show.
Yeah.
Host of the Buyers and Sellers Show, does a fantastic job. Thank you, Jay.
He opens his program playing the piano and a song.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty unique differentiation. Do you play music, Alden?
I do. I am in Nashville. I am in the Music City, but I don't.
All right. Yeah, there you go.
Musician, because there's so many talented people here. But yes, I do. I've dabbled in guitar, piano, and then I actually grew up playing the clarinet for quite a few years as well.
Cool.
Well, good thing you didn't share that with the terms and conditions of the contract to come on.
We would have had you perform for us here.
Good thing. Good thing.
Do we like to have fun here? But we always like to start out, a little bit about yourself, as much you want to share, where you're born, a little bit of history. And I always like to go to your story. Why do you do what you do? Your purpose. So if you'd like to start there, we'll just go from there.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I'll go ahead and share my screen if that works for you guys.
Do we have permission on that?
Let me give this a shot. I believe so. How's that? Is that working?
Let me
bring it up.
Perfect.
There we go.
All right.
Look at this.
Yeah, super excited to be here. A little bit about me. Again, I am in Nashville, Tennessee, Music City. I'm not a huge musician, but I do love music. I'm the founder, I'm the CEO of BoostBox PR. So, we focus on digital and print publications for a lot of small businesses and medium-sized businesses to just elevate their authority and get their positioning, elevate their profile. Previously, before this, my background is in sales and marketing. I owned a company that was called Zuck Digital. We did marketing for solar companies and ended up selling that off. It was for several reasons. I had a business partner who was doing the fulfillment and I did the marketing. I really, really was just overcome by the power of authority and how much that impacts businesses, and ended up wanting to switch over to that. And we just kind of mutually exited and I sold my share over to him. But that's my, general work background there. A little bit more about me. I love snowboarding. I love caving, hiking, anything that kind of gets me out of the office space here for a little bit. So that's a very brief history about me. Do you guys have any other questions about that?
No, we're good. So
That is awesome. Nashville, I used to go up there quite a bit,
It's a good time. There's plenty to do, that's for sure. You won't get bored.
No.
Yeah. Well, perfect. Well, happy to jump into it. I mean, let's just have some fun here. I'm going to be talking about the exponential power of authority. So the interesting thing is, when I did this talk before with Terry Levine, I called this authority equals mind control ? And I called it that because I wanted to convey the fact that authority has so much power. It has the power to change someone's mind to go along with your will, in essence. There was a couple people commented about some ethical issues, so that's why I changed the name, because it kind of caused some confusion there. But the reason why I called it that, is because one of the most powerful forces in understanding what persuades people to behave a certain way, it's a psychological phenomenon which is known as obedience to authority. So it's very simple, but it's something that has been proven and tested over and over again. So it's kind of like the classic doctor example, right? Let's say you go to the doctor, they're in a white lab coat, they've got their education on the wall, and you've got, let's say, a stomach pain, and they will say, hey, take these pills 3 times a day. Might cause some temporary nausea, some headaches, and yada, yada, yada. List goes on, right? But the thing is, you have this instincts trust in that doctor. And so you take the pills. And the interesting thing is, most of the time, at least for me, I don't really know what's inside the pills. I don't really know what's actually in this medicine. But I have this trust, this innate authority with this person, that I'll go ahead and go along with that. And it's interesting because that aligns with business so well, right? If you take a look at someone selling any type of service, and they say to a client, hey, if you do XYZ, well, this is going to solve your problem. This is going to solve your pain. There's going to be some temporary pains in between. You're going to have to work hard. There's going to be troubles. There's obviously going to be a lot of hills you have to get across. But in the end, it's going to solve your problem. And typically, you don't really know what's in between, right? You don't know what's in that in-between point to be able to solve your problem. But when you have, if that business owner has that authority as a doctor to that potential client, that is extremely powerful. So we're talking about obedience to authority and the power of authority there. Does that kind of make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought obedience to authority was dealing with the police officers. So, but no.
Yeah.
That way too, right? I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, but we won't dive into that. But it's interesting. One of the most powerful, one of the models of persuasion, it's known as the heuristic systematic model. So big words, but basically what this is, it's this notion that we're just bombarded with information, way more than we can process. So we have to use heuristics or shortcuts to make decisions on all the information presented to us. So it's kind of like if you think that you want a new watch, and then the next day you go on Facebook and you get an ad for a new watch. It's like you get all this information coming at you, and you have to use shortcuts to decide which to buy, which to solve your problem, which solution to go towards. Now, there was a lot of historical data, a lot of experiments around this. One of the most popular ones is with Stanley Milgram. So I'm sure a lot of you guys might be familiar with Milgram's shock experiment in the 1960s. If not, I want to run through this real quick because it's a really huge testament. It's really powerful to see the authority within this experiment. Ethics, maybe not so much, but the result was pretty profound. So basically, what happens with this experiment is there's a teacher and a learner, right? The learner is the fake test subject. So this is one of the experimenters' guys, right? The teacher, this is the real participant. Now, even though they're the real participant, they think the learner is the subject. A little confusing, but take a look at this graphic here. We've got the fake test subject over here, which is the learner, and then we have the teacher, who's the actual subject. Now, the learner is strapped up, you can see, to some electrodes here, who's going to pretend to feel pain. And then the teacher is the one who's going to be administering shock. So basically what happens in this experiment is the experimenter tells the teacher, hey, if the learner answers any question wrong, go ahead and press a button, and it's going to continue to let out, more and more shocks, but it's not actually shocking, right? So the learner is letting out these screams and these excruciating pains and acting like he's in pain. Now, what's interesting is eventually it gets to the point where the teacher believes in it so much, the teacher will tell the experimenter, look, if I administer one more shock to the learner, to the fake test subject, then he's going to die. And there's a strong belief behind that. And yet, the experimenter still told the teacher, administer the shock. Now, here's the interesting part, is that 87% of the participants actually administered the shocks. So even though they would believe that these shocks may even kill this person, they listened to the authority despite their concerns. Now, again, we go into ethics, that's a whole nother story, but it's really profound as far as when it comes to authority and listening and in that obedience to authority through this actual experiment. The experiment. So again, we have a trained response when we encounter authority, whether it's perceived authority or whether it's, real authority. And authority can be earned and it can also be created. So it's an interesting experiment, and that's of course not the only one, but I wanted to share that just because it really shows some historical data behind just testing those theories there. So wanted to jump into a quick story. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Funnel Hacking Live, I'm sure.
Funnel Hacking
Live. It's with Russell Brunson.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if anyone listening here went to Funnel Hacking Live in September last year, but absolutely phenomenal as always. Mark Joyner was one of the speakers at the event. So incredible guy. If you don't know him, definitely look him up. But Mark Joyner, I was able to, very grateful, had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with him throughout the week. Very interesting guy, definitely. Yes, definitely an electric personality if you get to know him. But if you don't know, he's actually the inventor of the tracking pixel. He's the founder of 30 plus startups, known as the father of digital marketing. I mean, just really smart guy, definitely can be eccentric and has some strong points. But it's time and time again, he's proven his successes. And there's really one reason behind that. And I'll go over that in a minute. But his background is in military intelligence. So what he was selected for was this officer candidate school. And this is basically this school for all the future leaders of artillery, so ground combat. So this was the best of the best, right? First class, so he tells the story. First class he goes to, the officer asks this question to everybody. What is the single most distinguishable character in a leader? Now, they went on and on, right? The officer just nailed these guys for not getting this question right. But they went on and on, right? You would think respect, you would think delegation, integrity, humility, discipline, resilience, and all these things are great factors that you should have as a leader. But the funny thing is the officer just really drilled into these guys, of course, because they were getting it wrong, because these are the leaders of combat and they couldn't answer this question right. Now, the answer is the ability to see the battlefield. So the single most distinguishable character in a leader is the ability to see the battlefield. And this is really interesting because, I mean, if you think about it, especially in business and really just overall when you're going through life, if you can prepare for the future, and I mean, we can even go into the fact and mentally prepare for the future, in business prepare for the future. If you can see the battlefield, you're going to be so much more prepared, especially as a leader in your industry. So the biggest question that comes from this is, well, you know, how do we actually see the battlefield? How do we prepare for that? How do we get ready for what's to come in the next 5 to 10 years? Best way to explain this is with this really poorly drawn exponential chart in this PowerPoint presentation. Now, I'm not gonna take credit for this. You know, this is all Mark Joyner, but this is the best way to really explain how best to see the battlefield and prepare for it. So you can see on the left here, we've got the data and info available, just overall and what we come across in our day to day. And then the bottom is, of course, the timeline. So there's an exponential increase in paradigm shifts. Now, what is the paradigm shift? It's an important change that happens when the usual way of thinking about or doing something is replaced by a new and different way. So the point here is paradigm shifts used to happen, if you think about it, they used to happen every 1,000 years. Then it moved up to 100 years. Then it moved up to 10 years. And we're at a point in time in 2023 where paradigm shifts are happening every single day in one way, shape, or form or another. So if you look at this chart, this is where we're currently located. So we're right on this verge here of this exponential increase in the data and information available. And you can even just take a look at the past couple of years. If you take 1990 to 2005 and then 2005 to where we're at today, it's just a massive exponential increase. And this can be in all different types of industries, right? And so what the point I'm trying to get across with that whole story is that the current battlefield, it creates an extraordinary necessity for authority and trust. Our current battlefield creates an extraordinary necessity for authority and trust. This comprehension creates an extraordinary growth in your impact and your wallet. Now, hopefully that makes sense. I know that that's kind of a lot to take in. Does that make sense with that chart and with the paradigm shifts?
Yeah, I just is that things are moving so quickly and so fast that we have to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear me? I guess, Mark. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, things are moving so rapidly, technology-wise. How do we keep up with it? Right? Is that where we're going to?
Yeah, and it's really just, how can we stay competitive? Even if you're looking at, whether you're new in business or you've been in business a while, everyone has to be able to visualize and see what's coming, to see the battlefield, because, things that used to work now, even 2 to 3 years ago, if you're continuing to do the same thing and not expanding or not testing or not trying out new things to stand out in front of your competitors, then it's really difficult to create that consistent, scalable business model and ability just to position yourself in front of people so that you can make a bigger impact. So
may I make a comment on that?
Please,
It's sort of like when we talk with people about business strategies and things, doing live streams, and sometimes the resistant is like, no way would I ever do that. And they just, the old paradigms keep them stuck, but the new trends, the new way to do business, you've got to adapt. And what do you say to people that are reluctant to look at the new paradigms?
It's tough. You have to show a little bit of tough love, but you also kind of have to put yourselves in their shoes. It's hard to make change. It's hard to step out and take risks. But unfortunately, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, that's a part of the life. It's risk is a part of the game, and just trying to delegate that. And so, you can definitely make things work. Like I know Robert just mentioned in the comments, if you can't be competitive, you can always be collaborative. Love that point, because that can come into play in so many different ways, right? And it comes into play even in PR. That's really what that is collaboration. You're collaborating with third-party sources that have credibility and have that authority to position yourself in front of them as well. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, Tom, I mean, definitely if I had to tell someone that if they're unwilling to adapt and make these changes, I wish them the best of luck, but you know, it's going to be tough to stay consistently reliable and to continue to scale up as a business.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So awesome stuff here. Let's go ahead and keep moving, because I wanted to mention another thing from Russell Brunson. Every single offer that he presents, every single, you know, he's acquired a few businesses recently. He's kind of moved on to doing that. Every single new free book he releases, it always includes hook story offer. That was like his thing. That was almost like his tagline. Hook story offer. That's it. Now, at Funnel Hacking Live, he mentioned that he added an additional element to hook story offer on the front end. He called this a dramatic demonstration. Definition of this would be a message that's pushed out to the masses from a credible source or method to gain authority and trust. An example of this. So again, if we look at some historical data here, the Brooklyn Bridge, y'all might be familiar or not with this, but yeah, so 1883, you know, 1 week after it officially opened, there was 12 people that were killed in the quote unquote collapse of the bridge. And what's interesting is it didn't actually collapse. What happened is there was this woman that fell down the stairs and she screamed, you know, it was kind of chaotic. And then her friends screamed, and then it ended up this whole, you know, frightful panic of everyone just panicking, thinking that the bridge is collapsing, when it was in fact just someone that fell down the stairs. And so 12 people died from being trampled to death just from this situation. Super tragic. But they had to combat this in some way, right? So what they did is they used an authoritative method. They hired a circus owner, P.T. Barnum, and he marched 21 elephants, 17 camels all across the bridge. Quite an experience, quite an event. You know, he released it to the press, made it a whole thing, and then that's what created that instant trust and credibility back in the bridge, and then it started to be used again. So that's one example of a method. And I was going to share, so there was another story actually that Russell mentioned. I didn't put it on here because I don't remember the name of this girl, but there was an opera singer who was outside of the U.S. and she wanted to come to the U.S. and, you know, be famous and sing everywhere. Bad part of this, she was terrible singer. But what she did was very strategic. She leaked to the press in multiple different locations in the U.S. that this phenomenal singer, and then she listed her name, was coming to the U.S. and told everyone which port that she was coming into. And so when she finally arrived, she had this big following already, this massive following, wanted her signature. Everyone was going to her shows, even though she was terrible. So it's interesting, even though, you know, you can translate this, even though her service, her offer, her product was terrible, no one enjoyed it, she was so famous and she sold out and she became successful just because she was able to create that initial authority for herself. So whether or not, again, that's ethical, that's a whole different story, but that is an example of some historical stuff of a method and a source. Method and a source to gain authority and trust. Dramatic demonstration. Now, this is his framework. Again, I want to try to provide as much value as possible for you guys. So these are the actual notes that I took from Russell when he was explaining this framework. And there's 5 steps for doing this framework. So dramatic demonstration, hook, story, offer. This is his framework that he literally uses for everything, for his new businesses, for every offer he releases. And so, you know, definitely take notes. Let me know if I should slow down. But first one here is, I don't know if you can read that. Get credibility for your offer. I apologize for my bad handwriting as well. But get credibility for your offer. And that's in parentheses, prior to marketing, prove it works, start leaking letters to the press. So get credibility for your offer. Second thing, inform the mass media channel. It's coming. I know Russell did this a lot. He had, you know, a big event in a stadium where I think It was some kind of funny thing they did that created a lot of attention. I don't remember what it was, but it doesn't have to be serious, right? It can be funny. It's any way that you can generate mass media connections and put yourself out there that you're releasing this product or whatever it might be. Number 3, involve other influencers. So again, influencers, it's really just another way of elevating yourself, collaboration with people who already have authority and connecting with them and utilizing those relationships. 4th thing, then and only then, send hook to your traffic that you own or rent. Thank you, Robert. I'm glad you can read my writing. Yes, so then and only then send hooked to traffic you own or rent. A lot of people try to do this on the front end, right? They think that direct marketing on the front end is the best way to go. To start doing Facebook ads, to start doing outreach. And the problem with that is it's really tough to have that trust with potential clients, especially if you're just starting out in business. Then it's tough to be able to say, hey, I can actually help you. This is going to bring a lot of value to what you're doing. This is a great solution, but your name just really isn't out there. There's no third-party credibility there. Number 5, last thing here is send hook to the mass media sources. So it just comes full circle there back to PR. So super interesting that his whole framework has been hook, story, offer, and then he just told us in September 2022 that he released a dramatic demonstration element to this. Because 60% of his framework now involves that authority through PR. So the biggest question there is, okay, well, why would Russell build his entire framework of hook, story, offer and then wait until 2022 to add this element of dramatic demonstration? Or let me say, at least wait to tell us about this element of dramatic demonstration. And that goes back to this phrase, right? The current battlefield creates an extraordinary necessity for authority and trust, and this comprehension creates an extraordinary growth in your impact and wallet. It's all about connecting back to how can you stay competitive or how can you stay collaborative? How can you position yourself over your competitors? Especially if we're looking at the online space, so many people are getting into business recently, and COVID escalated that too, right? A lot of people lost their jobs. It forced them almost to jump out of the comfort zone and do something that they might enjoy and just start a business. And it really kind of created this movement. So it's really all about seeing the battlefield, what's coming, how do we stand out in going forth that way. Just 2 quotes here. Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft: if I only had $2 left, I would spend $1 on PR. Really interesting. 50% of his budget he would spend on PR. I thought that was interesting. And then Richard Branson, if you don't know, he's a British billionaire, entrepreneur. He said publicity is absolutely critical. A good PR story is infinitely more effective than a front page ad. So what I want to do for you guys is give some really hard step-by-step instructions and DIY techniques for media pitching. So how you create authority for yourself. So maybe you're just starting out, don't have much of a budget. Well, how can you do this yourself? I want to go through that. Even if you have a business and you want to keep things, tighter, this is a great way to get started and get your feet wet when trying to create authority for your business. But before I even dive into that, I know I covered a lot in a short amount of time. Does that all kind of make sense? Is there any questions there from you guys?
No, you're doing a fantastic job. You're
great.
really painting a clear picture. Whoever's watching this is we should have had a pay button here. So if you're going through it, no, you're doing Alden, a fantastic job. Brought some new level awareness to me as a business person to consider in my strategies moving forward and things I'm doing already. So
yeah, for sure. And this is something that anyone can get started and implement this. A lot of people, when they think of PR, most people don't think of PR. Let me start there. Most people think that that's something that, you have to be on the corporate level. You have to have 50, 100 plus employees. Well, this is something that now in today's, time, it's super important even to get started with PR. So let's jump into it. I'll run through this fairly quickly. Definitely let me know if I should slow down if you need to take some notes or anything like that. But the first step here is to simply build a media contact list. And just to kind of preface this, this is going to seem fairly simple, and I set it up this way because it is. It sounds complicated, but this process is fairly simple. So the first step is to build a media contact list. This is very straightforward right here. So all you got to do, create a table, create a spreadsheet, and list out the information. It's all a numbers game, right? It goes back to sales and marketing. It's very similar. So put their media outlet name, put the name of the journalist or the press contact that you're going to want to reach out to. Put their contact information, put information about their audience, who is their normal type of readers and subscribers, and then the submission guidelines. So sometimes they may have that on their website, typically not if you're looking at higher tier publications like Entrepreneur, Yahoo Finance, any of those. Typically you get that information afterwards, but you would want to start with a general spreadsheet to get all of this information. Now, how do you find this information, right? How do you actually get these contacts? Several different ways. You'll have access either to their media outlet website. Sometimes they have information. Again, if you're looking at higher tier publications, it's not going to be on there. You're going to have to start with things like LinkedIn. Twitter is actually really phenomenal for reaching out to media contacts. And when I say media contacts, I specifically mean the journalists. If you're maybe looking at a smaller media outlet, you might be able to get the owner or maybe a contributor, but typically your first contact is going to be with the journalist. You can use email finder tools. So Hunter, Zoom Info, those are really good. Zoom Info is a little bit more expensive, but the data is phenomenal. You get what you pay for there. One thing I actually want to mention real quick, as far as the journalists go, you need to make sure that you find journalists that are relevant to the story that you want to project. Some journalists won't accept your story for those reasons. So you need to get some background information. You want the journalist to be passionate about your industry, what you're doing, and center around that, because that's what's going to really allow you to build that relationship and long-term relationship with those contacts. So where to send your pitches? These really are the four main categories that you're going to want to look at. So of course you have your traditional news outlets, right? You got your newspapers, you got print magazines, you got TV, radio stations, more of the traditional outlets there. You've got your trade publications. Those are going to be digital and print magazines. And that's, what I focus on specifically with my business with BoostBox PR. You've got the just straight journalists where you can contact them, and then you have non-traditional news sources. So what I mean by this is, Facebook groups, bloggers, influencers, that's still PR, right? You can use any type of mass media platform to be able to position yourself and spread your message. Now, when it comes to credibility and authority, yeah, maybe Facebook groups and bloggers, sometimes influencers aren't going to have as much of an impact, but it really just depends who you're going for, and you got to start somewhere too, right? So really great options there, four main places to send your pitch. Second thing, write an email template with your pitch, or create a media pitch deck. The biggest point, if you take anything away from this, is that obviously these media outlets, these journalists, they receive tons of pitches all the time, constantly, right? So the big thing is, well, how do you even stand out from trying to pitch to these media outlets? So that's what I'm going to go over real quick. A few things you want to prioritize in this situation. Building a relationship, right? We're in a stage in business. Relationships are so important. You got to be authentic. You can't just come to them just trying to pull, this is for me. You need to create a relationship where you can give something to them and then they can give something for you, right? Personalizing your pitch. This is really important. It can't be, like a template. It needs to be very specific to that journalist. It needs to have a great hook. Simple, right? Again, don't make it too complicated, but you need to have a great hook. Definitely keep following up again and again, and you want to track these numbers. Just like when you're going into sales or in marketing, data is everything. You need to be analytical about your business. So that goes into when you're pitching to try to get your story out there, follow up and notate everything, whether you have a CRM or using a spreadsheet. A media pitch deck, this is a little bit more of a complicated way to send your presentation. It's about 10 to 20 slides. It doesn't have to be anything complicated, but you can definitely easily search this on Google for some examples of what this looks like. I would recommend doing the media pitch deck, as it's definitely going to allow you to stand out a lot better. Any way you can stand out, definitely go for that option. Couple things to include, whether it be a media pitch deck or just an email. Of course, make sure your name, company name, why you're reaching out, the topic of the press release of the story that you're wanting to give, and then a rough date of when you're trying to get it released by. Second thing is why the news is important to their audience. So again, it goes back to research. You got to make sure that you understand who you're talking to and what they typically write about. Offer a compelling statistic or reason why your story would directly affect the journalist audience. And just to backtrack real quick, guys, I know this is a lot of information I'm going through really quickly. It can seem kind of complicated, but you just got to start somewhere. If you get started, you do one, you do two, you do three, you do another, and then you'll realize you're now in contact with a few journalists and you're getting things going. So when in doubt, just get started, right? But these are just definitely some good guidelines. Number 3, ask for the release. So don't hesitate to be bold about, what you're wanting and the date that you're wanting it to be released and why you actually contacted them. And then, of course, include your full contact information. You want to make sure that they can contact you back. Few things. Don't be too clever. You don't want to be too salesy, too pitchy. Be real, be authentic, be yourself, but be straight to the point as well. Beware of spam filters. So when you're doing any type of email marketing or sending emails, especially to media contacts, they have typically they have better spam filters. So you want to avoid some common spam words. Again, it goes back to just keep it authentic, be real. Number 3, pitch decks, graphs, videos, interactive elements, any way you can stand out. Spend time on it. This is a real person you're talking to. Figure out how you can give them value and present everything as much as possible in a neat way. And then keep it short. Doesn't need to be long, doesn't need to be complicated. Try to find ways to stand out, but it doesn't need to be, 5, 6, 7 paragraphs long. Make sense so far? Is that too much?
Absolutely.
Okay. Almost finished up here with the steps. I believe there's 4 steps here. So number 3, analyze your results. Follow up on your pitch. Again, be analytical about what you're doing here. And the last one, write your press release and get interviewed. Writing your press release, this is something that I would honestly recommend hiring out. A really good platform for writing articles is something like Fiverr, but you have to be very careful because writing a press release, you want to make sure you spend a lot of time on this. This is a very important part. Couple things to keep in mind. Number 1, it needs to be in line with your pitch. It needs to be in line with what you're doing and your business. Number 2, look at examples for article voice, best practices. You got to make sure that you, when you're sending this article over, the journalist isn't just going to decline it. So you want to make sure that you are professional and you look at some other examples and understand how to actually craft this. SEO backlinking, indexing, it's really important to get the best and the most value out of your press release. So you want to include backlinks to your website. You want to be able to index this so that whenever it gets posted, it's going to show up on the first page of Google. And then with these other links, it's going to bring up your website links and it's going to bring up your social media links if those are linked in there as well. So you don't have to spend so much time on SEO marketing on your website. You can get a press release and backlink your websites, and that's going to move that up a lot faster and almost immediately on the first page of Google. Keep it between 500 and 1,000 words. Typically 500 to 600 words is the sweet spot. And then, of course, include some type of call to action. So at the end of the article, explain, why you're writing, why you're presenting your press release, if it's a new offer, a new product, or whatever that may be. So couple things, or last thing I guess I should say, is when you're dealing with higher tier publications, and I say DA 70 plus, so this is a domain authority of 70 plus. A domain authority is between 1 and 100, and that just lists the authority that that specific domain or that media outlet has. And so when you're dealing with higher tier publications with a 70 plus domain authority, and this is, Yahoo Finance, Entrepreneur, Forbes, Market Watch, AP News, any of those are going to be a lot tougher to do on your own, but it's absolutely possible. The only thing I have to say is find a way to stand out and be consistent. That's the summary. That's it, guys. Pretty simple steps, 4 steps to do this. Build your contact list, write your email template to send out, analyze the results, and then write your press release and get interviewed. Does that make sense? Kind of straightforward there.
Absolutely. I didn't realize the process that's really involved in creating that authority that you're looking for through a press release and what's all entailed. So getting back to what you do, you offer levels of service, I presume, to help all different levels, helping people. Do you do it for them, or do you teach them how to do it? What's your method of operation, working with clients to get that best results for public relations?
Yeah, good question. We take care. It's a completely done for you service. So we take care of absolutely everything. Our main thing, of course, is getting entrepreneurs, getting business owners into these top tier media outlets. So the higher tier domain authority outlets like Forbes, Entrepreneur, Business Insider, all of those. And what we do is we take care of everything from A to Z. So we will have you answer specific interview questions for your industry. We'll take all of that plus industry research, and we'll craft your publications for you in a way that is going to make the biggest impact, not only from that press release, but for your websites and for your social media. Once you review those articles, we do everything to get them published for you as well. And we do everything completely guaranteed. So we've built up a lot of relationships already with these media outlets, and that helps us to position you guys, to position our clients well in what you guys want to present there. So just a few examples. I wanted to pull up 2 examples because when we're talking about the power of authority, it's something to talk about, and it's this idea that's like, oh yeah, that sounds nice. We talked about all this historical data, but just to show you how powerful this is, 2 clients I wanted to mention. Nick DeFlorio was one of our first clients, and he started at $40,000 per month. Pretty good. He was steady at this. He was only running Facebook ads to his funnel. This was working well, but whenever his prospects would search his name or his business on Google, nothing would show up. He didn't have many reviews, had a couple testimonials, but that really stunted his growth and his ability to scale. And so what we did is got him in places like Forbes, got him in Yahoo Finance, and a few other top tier publications. I don't know if you can see that, but if you search his name, his social media links come up, his publication links come up, his website comes up. But what happened once we got him published is he went from $40,000 per month to $250,000 per month in 60 days. Now, this isn't normal for our clients, but it's when you are able to utilize the power of authority with direct marketing, with other marketing elements, then it can create just an exponential growth in what you're doing. If your business is proven, right? If your offer is proven, just like Russell Brunson's framework, you got to prove it first. Create that authority, send traffic, send that hooks to traffic you own and to other cold traffic, and build it up that way. So really powerful testimonial there. BlackBerry Capital started very fresh, $0 per month. They were an info product. Got them on Yahoo Finance as well as entrepreneur.com and a few other places. And they scaled up to, I believe it was actually just a little under $100,000 in about 30 days. Similar situation here. They were utilizing a direct marketing method. On average, our clients will jump between 20 to 30,000 within about 60 to 90 days. So these are definitely not average, but that's an example. What we do is pretty straightforward, but we focus very heavily on figuring out how to tell your story, how to craft your story, and how to present that to the public in a way that's going to create the biggest impacts. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to come from that because a new entrepreneur thinking about going to business, this might go, oh, what am I getting into? Uh, Overwhelmed. So, somebody starting out in the business in the world, how do you plan for this in a long term? Knowing the battlefield, right? Going to where the battlefield is in their business planning and their day to day things. What would you make that recommend a person says, hey, I'm going to go into business and how soon do they start implementing this strategy, or they wait until they get some traction? Or what would you say there?
Very good question, and it's tough because it can differentiate based on the business model. But when you're talking about gaining authority, it's hard to get clients or it's hard to get customers if you don't have reviews or testimonials. And then if you don't have reviews or testimonials, it's hard to get clients. So when you're trying to get started, especially if you maybe even have a little bit of ad spend, or you're trying some other outreach methods, you just need to find a way to create that trust with your customers. And it doesn't always have to be with a third-party source. Now, it's powerful. It creates the most immediate impact. But if you're able to either one, use collaboration, which I can expand on that a little bit, or two, be as authentic as possible when you're reaching out to your clients. Everything nowadays, or a lot of things nowadays, are automated. And so when you're able to bring authentic conversations to potential prospects or customers, that is going to be the biggest turning points when you're actually getting started. Now, collaboration, I would say if there's one thing I recommend for new business owners trying to get started, is definitely first, make sure you spend a lot of time creating an offer that is something that is almost like a no-brainer for your ideal audience, right? Pick a specific niche, create an offer that is almost like a no-brainer that they can't say no to, test it out, make sure it works. Once you have that ground, structure created, build a list of 100. It's kind of a lot. It takes time, but it's worth it. Build a list of 100 people who have access to your ideal audience. So whether that be a YouTube channel, a lot of times you can go to a YouTube channel, you can get their email address, get that contact info, create a spreadsheet, build a list. That's one. Maybe it's a podcast interviewer or someone on TikTok. Build a list of people who have your audience, reach out to them, find a way to give value to them so that they can help you out and you can use their audience. That if you can do that, that's an incredible free way to get started in using authority and using PR and using third-party sources to get started. It takes time. I know 100 is a lot, but if you do this process, I mean, I can almost guarantee you, if you test your offer, I can almost guarantee you that it will be successful doing it that way.
You said two things there. Number one, I'm talking from the place of first starting. They got a talented gift, something of value to take to a marketplace. And when I got into coaching business, I had never coached anybody, but I fell in love with the process. I saw the results myself, so I started building my story. But I was a Bob Proctor certified consultant, and he taught us how to leverage his success of his people, because it was the process that we ran people through, not ourselves personally. So we learned to leverage his authority in a way. And then the other thing that we learned through, I'm going to give credit where credit's due, is Ken Wall's Grow Live Academy, doing these live streams, bringing in guests like you, building that relationship, collaboration. And now we're working in, we don't know where the message is going to go, but they go, you know what, those guys we like those guys, and he brings in great people, and we're leveraging a medium that would never have taken us to opportunities in any other marketing channel. So
Yeah.
So this live stream is part of what I've done in my business last 2.5, 3 years now, and it's done some unbelievable things of who I've met and doors opened and all those type of things. So is this part of the strategy that you would help somebody is learn how to leverage an authority, build that relationship, collaborate with them, and then build relationships with people that are in alignment for a cause and a mission, like we're doing here? Would it be a good strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not something that we do. We with Boostbox PR, we focus more on the higher tier third party, highly credible sources, right? But getting started, that's absolutely something that I'd recommend. I mean, there's so many ways to do it. It's just all about, how can you provide value, and how can you do so in front of a mass amount of media, with someone else's audience. If you can use someone else's audience rather than creating your own, if you can create that relationship, I mean, that talk about exponential power of authority with that. Yeah. Well, perfect. And by the way, just to mention as well, this last slide, if you guys want to chat more about it, I'm happy to chat. I'm not big on hard selling. So if you just want to chat, feel free to book a call with me. I am going to give 10% off all services I have it on here for anyone who books a call at the end of this event, but I'm just going to do end of day today. But if you just want to chat, feel free. I'm happy to help you out, especially, even if you're a new business. If you want to chat, I'm happy to kind of go through maybe some best strategies as well to kind of get started and what that process looks like.
Okay. On a personal basis, where's your sweet spot? What type of industry, what type of business that you resonate more with? I mean, so people know exactly where your sweet spot is, where you like, I call it, where to hit the home runs from. So,
yep.
And that's Marco like that one, being a baseball umpire. So, but you have a sweet spot, who you really can service the most.
Yeah, so typically who we work with the most, and I guess who I like to work with the most is, first, entrepreneurs that typically sit around that $5,000 to $10,000 per month range. Typically, it's a steady point, and it's typically hard to get out of that rut to figure out how to scale to the next level. And so, I try to provide as much coaching as well as the PR service to get out of that rut and to scale up quicker. But when talking about more specific industries, we work with a lot of agency owners. So when it comes to marketing, so again, my background is in marketing. So anybody within the marketing industry and in the coaching space as well. We do work with a lot of e-commerce businesses, and I'll be honest, that's not my sweet spot. I really enjoy helping coaches and marketing agency owners, mainly because it has such a direct impact on their clients. Being able to bring marketing, bring leads, bring revenue and profits to a business is extremely powerful. So if they have a good product, if they have a good offer, and they just need help separating themselves and putting themselves out there, I love doing that, and I love watching it. I love being able to be a part of that journey that they're on. So that's really my sweet spots: marketing and coaches.
When you say e-commerce, could you get some clarity what that really means to people out there? Because I have my idea what that is, but I'm coming from a place of ignorance. So I just asked that question.
Yeah, no, you're
fully aware.
Yeah, e-commerce. So anybody who's just selling products online, whether that be some products that they're creating themselves, or maybe they're drop shipping, they're getting these products from somewhere else and then shipping them out. So any type of products that they're doing online, typically it's between, that $10 to $100 mark is what I work with per product, I guess I should say.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Mark, do we have any comments coming through from you? We've had Robert in, and thanks, Robert, for jumping on as always.
Greg Sneed he said, and it's just a comment. He said, the authenticity of the bot. Um, so I get it. What I was going to ask you though is these templates. Do
Mm.
you have them, or when you were talking about write an email template, with a pitch or create a media pitch deck? Do you have them when you work with your clientele and say, here's something you can use as a guide and implement, for your business? Or does somebody have to literally go out and develop their own type of, um, whether it's a media deck or, email deck?
Yeah, when we do it for our clients, we do everything from scratch, so everything's all custom.
Gotcha.
But when it comes to anyone else that might be looking for a template, Google is your best friend, right? If you search
Okay.
media pitching template, you're going to have a lot of results that come up, and it's going to
Sure.
give you at least what to put on the slides, right? How to communicate what you want to communicate.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Good question though, and yeah, about the bot thing, it is interesting because there's a lot of technologies, even with LinkedIn, where you can create like this authentic personality, this AI bot, right, named John Doe or whoever you want to call it, and it can work sometimes, but I think as we get into this more and as more people experiment with it, I think people might start to realize that it is a bot or automated, and maybe it'll even get better. Maybe we will be able to automate this process more and reach out to people in an automated way and then still have these authentic conversations afterwards. So it's,
Cool.
I mean, definitely an interesting topic.
That's good.
Wow. I tell you what, you really gave us a really clear
No,
picture
it was outstanding.
of what you do and how important it is to have this strategy for growth. So I loved how you opened up. Know the battlefield. Know the battlefield. That stuck with me in a big way. Another thing I came away with is Russell. I know his stuff as well. I've got his books and that. So, but the dramatic demonstration that you put in there was new to me.
Yeah.
And just start leveraging people if you don't have that authority yet. Collaborate with them.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah. So you did a great job.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that are already in business. Hopefully they're listening tonight and see this on the replay and reach out to you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no, for sure. Happy to dive into anything, guys. Once again, like if you're listening to this, I'm happy to just bring as much value. So if you want to chat, doesn't matter if you're new, if you've been in business a while, happy to at least walk through if my calendar's open. Any questions that you got, because leveraging is so powerful. Leverage what you can, leverage other people's audience. If there's one thing you take away, it would definitely be that. Leverage other people's audience, leverage third-party sources, and use that authority.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, anything else you'd like to elaborate on, ask questions before we?
No, he pretty much covered it from soup to nuts. I mean, I just, for me, I learned quite a bit. I wrote a few cryptic notes down here, so always like to learn new things and how people are out there approaching things. Hey, let me ask you this, Alden. After people go through this process, they go all through this, then how do they engage with them? I mean, I know you're doing it this way. Is there ever a time you meet with them face to face and or talk to people on a virtual level like this, this type of communication, or i.e. phone? Or is it just strictly, implementing these processes that you outlined for us? In other words, do they communicate with their prospective client? Let's say I'm a new business. At some point, do they talk to them on a virtual level, or it could be a face-to-face level and or telephone? I'm just asking you, is that encouraged or not? I'm not shooting bullet holes at you or anything like that. I'm just
Oh
asking,
yeah.
like if
And you're talking
I'm a
about
new business and I implement this process, then other than doing this, what else do I do to accelerate my business? That's my question.
okay.
At some point you got to communicate with somebody, right?
Yeah, so your question is mainly, what's really the best method of communication to media outlets, right? Or to third party, sources? Is that kind of what you're asking?
Mark, did you hear that?
Not
Mark,
sure.
I don't know if you can hear it. I don't think he heard.
Yeah,
I think
so I
that's what
think
he was asking.
Yeah, I think I know what you're asking. There's definitely there's not a right way. I think there's recommended ways when trying to reach out and communicate to media outlets, especially if they're a little bit of a higher tier, publication. Um, you're not going to have much luck with phone. When I first got started, I tried to do a lot of everything. Tried to email, tried to call.
Right.
They usually get annoyed because they're so busy, right? They get these communications all the time, these requests all the time, and so
Okay.
email has always been the best method for me. Now, and that goes into, so when you're trying to reach out to like your dream 100, your 100 list. So YouTube, people on YouTube, or influencers, or anybody with your audience.
Right.
Email is always a great way, but definitely a phone call. Email is best for sure for media publications. But when you're connecting with other people who don't, aren't as big, aren't connected, and aren't being reached out to all the time,
Right.
Find a way to be authentic. Find a way to connect, because an email, I'm sure they receive tons of emails. Like my email inbox is always full. And so
That's where I was going with that. At some point, as you're developing your clientele as a business owner, you've got to communicate with them other than, you got to use all the tools. I get that. But at some point, because some people, what we're doing right now, they're hesitant about even having a virtual call, whether it's Teams, Zoom, whatever the platform it is.
yeah, I think for some people, and especially since fear of public speaking is the number one fear that we have, and it's one of those things where it's, yes, it might be scary, but it is the most powerful, because
Sure.
you don't want to hide. It's easy nowadays to hide behind a screen and try to start a business or try to sell your service.
Or hide behind a text on the phone. Right?
Or
Exactly.
we call them warriors of the keyboard. That's what
There
I
you
call
go. Yep. They really like to hide.
That's
Yep.
where I was kind of going with that. You
Okay.
didn't say that, but someone, may think, oh, good, I can just do this and then that's it. That's all I got to do. That's where I was going with that. And that's why I asked you that.
Yeah, I will say I really don't think it's possible to build a profitable. I mean, it can be possible, but to build a profitable business, I mean, you got to have those relationships. And if you
Sure.
don't know your face, especially if you're doing something that's more
Right.
like you're the person, right? You're the service, or you're the whatever it is.
Sure.
Any type of, even if it's just a phone call, hearing your voice, extremely powerful. So that was a really good question.
Yeah.
Okay.
The axiom never changes. At some point, you've got to pick up the phone or meet with them or have some sort of conversation. One of the
Yeah,
three.
but I really did learn a lot here, what you were sharing. That's very impressive.
Well, good. I'm glad I could provide some value here. Happy to help.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, people say you're going to do an hour. Some of the people out there do 35 minutes. There's no way we can do a 35 minutes with our guests. So you do a wonderful job. I'm glad to know you. I'll be reaching back to you after, probably after next week. Because I'm heading out of town with my wife's conference she's going to. But I've got some things I want to ask of you, and some opportunities I want to share as well. So with that all said, under contract, you wanted blue M&Ms. So I want you to enjoy those. We're going to put you in the back room real quick, and Mark and I will wrap her all up. Don't go anywhere, okay?
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Hey, thank you. Thank you again for sharing.
Absolutely.
We're going to keep his banner up while we're.
Oh, yeah.
What happened? Oh, he took it down. It's all right. He took it down. We're wrapping up. It was up there for a good time. You know, Mark, that's what I love about this program is bringing new perspectives, what it takes to win. Uh, you know, Alden definitely knows his stuff and the people he's
Oh
associated,
yeah,
he's learning
absolutely.
from and applying it and helping, you know, the entrepreneur out there, that the small business person. So we got some real good clarity tonight. So anything else you'd like to say before we wrap her up here?
Well, I'm just going to bring this up. I think is um, next week we don't have a guest, right? We're kind of
At this
vacant.
particular time, I'm looking here at our calendar. No, that's at the 23rd, not at this point, but the
But
following week,
I will jump ahead just real quick.
let's jump to the.
In 17 days, the man himself, Sean Litvak, he's no stranger to a conversation for sure. He's been sharing his personal manifesto, Proverbs for Leadership, in about 17 days. And Sean beat me up, forgive me. That's when it's opening day for the book. So, and the 30th, we're going to have him on and we're going to really, kind of peel back some things and get into, his whole mindset process, personal manifesto, his newsletter he's got cooking, and things that he's doing out there. Um, and I'm looking forward to that one. That'll be kind of fun.
Great business leader, brings
Yep.
great value. His book is so powerful
Yep.
when we look at from the principles from Proverbs.
Oh, absolutely. And Sean,
Um,
you referenced it from a pretty good
authority,
book. Yeah, authority,
the
whatever. So you
authority.
can't go wrong there. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. So, uh, but you know, turn on your notifications. If we don't have a guest next week, Mark and I will have a topic to
It
talk
could be a
about.
mystery guest, man.
It
We
could
could,
be. Could be
yeah,
one of these people that we're scrolling through here tonight. So reach out to Mark and I. Come on
sure.
and give us your best shot. But
Hey,
with that
Tom,
all
could
said,
you let people know that too? If you want to share something about your business, if there's something that you feel passionate about, feel free to get in touch with either one of us, Tom or myself. We strongly advocate and welcome it, man. So feel free.
well, I may reach out to Tanya and JR to maybe come on and talk about our corporate sponsor, the CEO
Oh
and
yeah,
COO. Yeah, so
that'd be
I'll
cool.
be meeting with her tomorrow. So maybe
Yeah,
we'll have
that'd
a
be
guest.
neat.
I'll let you know
That'd be some
for
awesome
next week.
stuff.
Okay. With that all said, Mark, anything else in closing?
Well, just real quick, do you know who Billy Stanley is?
It doesn't ring a bell, my friend.
Okay, I'm gonna go back a couple years. Um, he's written a couple books. And Billy, if you're listening out there, maybe one day we'll have you on here. He is the stepbrother, one of them. There was three, the Stanley brothers of Elvis Presley. I kid you not. And he's written a couple books, and I really started checking this guy out, and some pretty neat stuff. He's written one called Elvis, My Brother, and he's got another one out there, The Faith of Elvis. I know everybody thinks, oh God, we're going to talk about. That's not what you're going to talk about. You're going to talk about what made the guy tick. Here's a guy, I guess he was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 tops, if that, back in '62, and lived with him all those years, he and his brothers. And who knows, man? I would love to have a guy like that on here because he's talking about a lot of different principles. Ricky, his older brother, he was a pastor. He passed not too long ago, but yeah, some pretty neat brothers. And I didn't even know it till I researched it, Tom. And I was like, hey, here's a guy. So he lives in Memphis. He and his other brother David, they live there right now. So
Well, like Alden said, pick up the phone and call them. Right?
you got it. That's how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go through all the steps, although it is good stuff. But yeah,
Well, my friend, a pleasure. I'm grateful to have you as a friend and an associate in business. And I'm grateful for meeting Alden, and we'll definitely be in touch. So we'll close her down with our corporate sponsor.
you got it.